Hi everyone, it's Rebecca Naylor, health coach with Chronically Well Club. If you have been following my videos, you know that I'm celebrating this year, 2017, 20 years in remission from multiple sclerosis. And one of the things I do as part of my video blog series is interview people that I come across who I find to be really amazing resources and experts on certain topics that I find really beneficial for myself as a person with MS and that I think would be great to share with you, my MS community. So, yesterday on my video blog I announced that I was going to be doing this interview today with my dear friend Kerry Garnier. So welcome, Kerry.
Thank you so much.
And Kerry is an educator with the Toronto District School Board, as I am as well. And she's been telling me a lot over the past year about something called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. So this is something that I've become increasingly interested in learning about. As I've been talking about in many of my videos, a lot of focus for autoimmunity and MS tends to be on diet and nutrition, diet, nutrition, diet, nutrition. And that is really important. But it's not just about what we put in our body, it's what comes out of our body in terms of our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions, because that is in a lot of ways actually more toxic than any of the foods that we could put in our body. So when Kerry suggested that I spend some time working with her this month, learning about EFT and practicing it myself, I jumped at the opportunity. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to do this myself, then I might as well share it because I'm a sharer.
I love it.
So today we're going to talk about emotional freedom technique. So welcome, Kerry. Why don't you start by just telling us, what is it? What is EFT?
Okay, so EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, it's also known as tapping, so you might have seen it out there in the world, just called simply tapping. And what it is, it's a very user-friendly technique that comes out of the big umbrella called energy psychology. And what it is it's like emotional acupuncture, but without the needles. So we literally, without the needles. So we are tapping on the face and upper body at the places where our meridian systems come closest to the surface. And the idea to that is to clear the meridians, to calm the brain. So immediately what can happen is that if you're feeling anxiety, the anxiety will go down almost immediately. But it can be used for more than that. So it can be used to reduce anxiety either before, in the moment, or after an event. It can be used to remove pain or release pain from the body.
So can I pause you there?
Sure.
Can we talk about this before, during, and after? Because
Certainly.
that was one of my questions. Like, when do I do this? So let's say I had a stressful situation coming up, like say a visit to the neurologist, and you're going to get an update on what's going on, or maybe you have to make a big decision. If it's upcoming, say in a couple weeks, and I'm already feeling the anxiety, do I do it now? Do I wait until the situation? Do I do it after?
And it's absolutely fine to do it right away as soon as you know that it's coming up. Especially things like going to the doctor, and especially for clients who have repeat visits, because chances are that anxiety is echoing off of previous visits. And so what we would do is we would address it right in the moment. And the thing I love about EFT is it's not just talk therapy, and it's not just maybe you'll feel better afterward, is that we actually talk about what emotion are you dealing with, how strong is it, so we rate it on a scale from 0 to 10, where are you feeling it in the body. Then we do some work, really addressing that feeling and the thoughts that are coming with it. And then we check again, where is the intensity now. So it has a loop, a self-checking loop built into it. So you will know almost immediately if this is being effective for you. And the good news is, I haven't had a client yet for which it is not effective. So before the event, we talk down the anxiety. We see if it's resonating off something else. We clear that out of the way. You now have a tool, because the anxiety might come back as you get closer to the date, but you now know how to tap it down. And then when you go in, you're not anxious, you're not in flight or fight mode, you can think more clearly and you can make better decisions.
Right. Yeah. And so for anybody who may not be clear about that whole fight or flight thing, basically there's two different places we can be in emotionally at any given time, right? One tends to be referred to as flight or fight.
Yes.
The other tends to be referred to as rest and digest.
Yes.
So either if you think back to, when we were hunter-gatherers in open fields on the plains of Saskatchewan or something, the rest and digest is like, we're chilling out in the sunshine, chewing on a piece of grass, all is good, we're happy. The fight or flight is like, oh my God, there's an enormous bison charging at me and I have to get my spear. And then all of a sudden we go into this anxiety situation, which is productive because it helps us to do what we need to do to, kill a bison or a buffalo. But
it's not a decision-making state. And if you don't mind me talking a little bit about the brain. So there's a part of the brain called the amygdala, which controls that fight or flight. So the great news is all of the energy, all of your blood goes to your muscles so you can fight or run. The problem is some of the side effects are that you have increased negative emotions, you're increasing cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and you're not sending any blood to the front of your brain, which is the decision-making part. So the back of the brain, the hindbrain is totally taken over, but you can't think clearly. So the neuroscience to what tapping does is it actually, as you're tapping, it calms the amygdala so that it stops the stress cortisol and it actually starts some of the positive hormones so that you feel calmer, and now you can start making real decisions because the blood starts going back to the front of the brain where the decision making.
And that makes total sense, right? Because if a lion's chasing you or something, you don't need to be sitting and contemplating your best decision. What should I do? Should I run? Should I hang out? Right? There's no decision to be made. You're running purely on instinct, yes. Right? But in a situation, in our modern society where our stressors are not, buffaloes on the plains of Saskatchewan, it's like, a meeting with your boss or something, you need the clarity. You need to be able to make those decisions. So what you're saying is that EFT is a tool that helps us to get back to that place.
And this is my own philosophy, is that many of us are almost always doing reactive decisions, which aren't necessarily the best. And oftentimes our big decisions and small decisions are made out of trying to get out of pain. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could reduce the pain in that moment? And by pain, I mean it could be anger, it could be anxiety, it could be sadness, whatever pain is in that moment. Wouldn't it be great if we could reduce that in the moment so that we can see the situation maybe a bit more clearly and we're not just running on, I've got to get out of this painful situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard you talk about EFT as a self-administered treatment that you can do on your own, but I've also heard you say we would do this. So is it like, Reiki or massage where you can go to a practitioner and have it done, or is it something that you do on your own or both?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
My goal is to make everybody self-sufficient and do self-administering. And I'd say about 90% of any emotional work you need to do, once you know how to use EFT, which can be taught in 5 minutes and you can become quite efficient, efficient, fairly quickly with 1 or 2 sessions. 90% of the emotional stuff we can figure out on our own. Mm-hmm. But there may still be things that we're stuck in. And there's different levels. It's like we want to get out of pain to neutral. But what if we're already neutral? We don't have any pain resonating, emotional or otherwise, and we want to up-level our lives. Well, once we start to up-level, then we open up a whole can of pain.
Right.
So, say for example, you want to start a new eating regime, or you want to start an exercise routine. You might go to a coach and say, this is what I want to do. And they're like, great, this is what you need to do. And you take that information home and it just sits beside you on the couch and you don't do it, right? You know what you need to do. Why are you not doing it? Well, EFT is one of those ways to help you push through that. So why are we not doing some of these things? Again, going back to the neuroscience of it, is often we want to feel motivated before we start a new diet, or we want to feel motivated before we start exercising. Well, we know now from Dr. Joe Dispenza and neuroscience is that the action actually has to come first.
Right.
And then the brain will start to release the happy chemicals, and which will start the motivation, which goes with the action, and then it becomes a cycle. So EFT is a great way to unstick the procrastination, unstick all of the I'm not worthy of being in shape, whatever that might be, remove the negatives of that, and then start to put in the positive feelings. Okay, I'm going to get out there today, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then after you do the action, you can reinforce it again. I did it, yay, I did it, I did it, I did it. And you're going to start your own loop until it becomes that habit in your brain that you want.
I'm kind of laughing because I'm listening to you talk and I'm seeing behind me there's a piano there, which, you know, I'm theoretically trying to learn. And I always ask myself, like, I know I have a gift for music. I really, really want to be a good piano player more than anything, you know. Why am I so resistant to practicing? And I think that's what it is. It's like I want to feel the joy of practicing before I start practicing, because I know that anytime I do, like, okay, fine, I'm gonna sit down and practice, as soon as I start playing, I'm like, oh, I love this. Why was I resistant to this, right?
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. The action needs to come, and then we get the motivation to continue. And that's probably one of the reasons why with things like exercise, if you don't exercise for even 48 hours, you know, you really, not only do your muscles deteriorate and you lose physical strength, but you totally lose that motivation because you need the action itself to maintain the desire to do the action, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
it's a chemical cycle. We need the action to create the chemicals, to create the desire to repeat the action. And like you say, if you interrupt that system, your body's going to go, okay, we'll just let those chemicals dissipate and you're on your own.
Yeah, and that's something that I work on all the time. I'm actually wearing a necklace right now. I know our viewers can't see it, but you can see it says daily.
Yes.
And I try and remember that all the time. It's not about having an hour and a half to sit down and play my piano. It's like, oh, something's in the oven and I've got 7 minutes. Let's just walk over and tickle the ivory for a few minutes. If you're doing that just a little bit every day, that's how skills are built. Right?
And that's one of the things I love about this system too, is we talk about daily and doable. As opposed to, because again, we can have these great dreams. I'm going to work out every day for an hour. Maybe, maybe not. But what about committing to, can you commit to a small step that is sustainable over time until it becomes the habit? And so my belief is small sustainable steps as opposed to these big leaps, which may, but probably may not work. And then we go into shame and blame. I couldn't do it. I'm not good enough. And the further down we go vibrationally, harder to get out.
I know that because we were both teachers, this is how we first started talking about this, right?
Yes.
Because, I don't know, do you find teaching a little bit stressful?
Oh, a little bit
Just
stressful.
A little bit stressful.
A little bit stressful.
It's a really, really stressful job.
Yes.
And it's stressful for us as teachers. It's also really stressful for students, right?
Yes.
I mean, what they're being asked to do.
Yes.
And the world in which they're growing up right now. Last year I was a guidance counselor, and probably 1 out of every 3 visits to my office was not about choosing a post-secondary pathway. It was about, I can't cope.
Yes.
What can I do? Just kids at their breaking point.
Yeah.
So I know you've been trying to get this into the school board and teaching this to teachers to teach their kids.
Yes.
So I was thinking, we know that with people with MS, about 75% of us are women. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are mothers. I say us, funny, I have no kids, but a lot of people with MS are mothers. And that itself, like teaching, can be a very, very stressful thing.
Yes.
So is there a way we can use this to help with our family dynamic? Can we teach it to our children? Because if we can lower the stress that happens within our household and make our home a more peaceful sanctuary, that then is going to lower the triggers for our MS, right?
Absolutely. So first off, this is something easy to do yourself. It's something you can easily teach your children. It's very, very simple. And kids pick it up like that. And then they actually will go around and teach their friends because they have no filters when it comes to, oh, this looks silly. They're good. They're like, this will make you feel better. And the beauty about children is that when we were children, we may have put an incident into our bodies and then it gets there over time. It's stucker and stucker and stucker. Whereas them, they have a bad incident, they tap it through, and then it doesn't stick. It doesn't become a trauma in the body that they have to deal with in 20 years' time, which will take lots of work. It's completely gone.
I often use that example with my students where they, if I'm teaching music and they try and play in the upper register on the clarinet for the first time and they squeak, they're like, well, I'm never trying again. And it's like, imagine a baby trying to go from crawling to walking. The first time they got up and walked and they fell. Imagine if the baby was just like, oh, I suck at walking. Forget it. I'm never trying again. I'm just going to crawl for the rest of my life, right?
It's good enough.
Yeah, totally. I love how kids are like that, right? They're just like, whatever, moving on.
But you don't have to teach your kids, which is the other thing, because I have teenagers who will not tap. Yes. So there are ways to surrogate tap, and always the first way to surrogate tap is to clear my emotionality first. That's always the first step. So even as a mother or a parent, if you're not getting your kids tapping, if you continue to clear your own emotional anxieties, it will change the dynamic between your children. And in teaching, this is a great example, is I had a summer school, very, very difficult situation, very, very struggling students. I actually didn't think I would make it through when I went to my mentor. And she tapped me through it. And in fact, we had recorded that session, and I tapped it every morning until I could go through it without crying. Okay. After I reduced my emotionality around it, the students I was working with, their presentation changed towards me.
Absolutely.
I had a student who was telling me to F off, and who the F was I, to talk to her in any way because she had been pushed through the system and she couldn't do math. So F, F, and F you. After I tapped down my stuff, the next thing I know, she's coming to me and saying, what do I need to do to get the credit? If I do all of that you say, will I get the credit? And that person who I thought, no way she's going to get this credit. She can't even see me.
Right.
She got the credit.
And I love that because I'm a special education specialist and I work with a lot of students who are really struggling like that. And my mantra for myself is be the mirror. Be the mirror. Like, I want my kids to look at my energy, to feel my energy, and I want that to be reflected back to me and vice versa. So we know that how we walk into our classrooms or our homes, often other people will pick up on that. Not often, always. They will energetically right? Pick up on how we are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe you have to have a difficult conversation with a spouse or a child. Putting yourself in a calm, energetic place is going to help to ensure that the response you get and the energy that other people are picking up from you is going to really help to maintain a calm, clear, productive conversation, right?
And I've had clients who had to have that difficult conversation. The conversation went completely differently afterward. Mm-hmm. They thought it would go this way and it would be this and bad and blah and blah. After we tap it through and open up the possibilities, they were like, I don't know why I was so scared of that conversation. It went completely different. They were totally open to what I was saying. We've created this now. That's amazing. Can absolutely change.
Now, just before we move on, I do want to acknowledge, because I didn't finish the thought earlier and it made it sound like I was only acknowledging mothers. Of course, if you are a father and you have children, I want to acknowledge the men out there as well. You are 25% of us with MS, and absolutely this will benefit you as well. I want to acknowledge that parenting is obviously a shared responsibility, and this is something that fathers and male teachers and anybody in their life who needs to communicate with anybody, which is like everybody, right, can benefit from this. Yes. So I want to jump into the fun stuff.
You want to do it, right?
I want to do it. Okay. I want you to teach me this. So
okay. I do want to do a place marker for pain later. We wanted to talk about pain, but we can do that after the fun stuff.
Okay. All right. So how do I tap?
Okay, so it is easier if you have an issue you want to tap on, like say your procrastination. It's better if there's a focus to it because then we can tell if it's
procrastinate on my resistance to practicing my piano. Because although it may seem like a minor thing, this is actually something that has caused me a lot of stress. Until very recently, I played clarinet with the Toronto Community Orchestra, and I actually made a decision in May to step down from that position after 6 years because I felt like the pressure to practice and my resistance to practice was causing me stress and was actually triggering my MS symptoms, even though I love to play music and I don't get what this resistance is. So I would love to work on this.
Okay, so we're going to do the tiniest bit here on video, then we're going to do more afterward.
For sure.
We are in relationship to everything. We are in relationship to each other. We're in relationship to the chairs we're sitting on. You are in a relationship with practice. Yes. So when you think about that relationship with practice, what's the emotion that's coming up?
Ooh, I felt a tightness in my chest.
Brilliant. Excellent. And that's the other thing we do is that once I talk about what is the emotion, I will say, where is it in your chest and how does it feel? So I already know that Rebecca has a tightness in her chest.
Yeah.
So is there an emotion that goes with the tightness in your chest, or is it just tightness in your chest?
The emotion is fear, but I don't know fear of what.
We don't need to worry about that in this moment. And if you rate that fear on a scale from 0 to 10, how intense is that in your chest?
Just thinking about practicing generally?
Yeah.
Probably like a 4 or 5.
Okay. And does that mirror the tightness in your chest that you just experienced?
Yeah.
About a 4 or 5?
No, well, the sudden, more like a 6.
Okay, so we'll go with the 6, because that was like, you were just like,
yeah.
So what happened there? So it's fear you've identified. And are there any other statements that are coming up for you around that?
just that it's always an avoidance, and it's a cycle with me. Like, I should, rather than I want to, even though I want the results.
Great.
And I enjoy it when I start.
Perfect.
Does it make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So I'm going to use Rebecca's words, and this becomes fairly quickly, you can plug and play, right? Even though I'm feeling this insert emotion here. And so for you, it's, what was it? Fear. It's fear that you're feeling.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to start on the side of our hands here.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly where the spot is, so I take all 4 fingers, and we're just going to tap there. So you can feel it. It should be an energetic tap.
Does it matter right or left side?
It doesn't matter, and I actually find this is one of the more powerful spots, so we do spend more time here.
Okay.
So as we get tired, just switch to the other side.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. So, and now I'm going to say your words back to you, and you're going to repeat them.
All right.
I'll try and go slower now.
Right.
And just accept what I'm saying. If it feels weird or wrong, you can say that doesn't feel completely right.
Okay.
Okay. But I know you're a high, I'll please the person I'm with. That's just your nature. So you can just take it on anyway.
All right.
And what else did I want to tell you before we do this? Yeah, you're just going to repeat what I'm saying.
Okay.
So even though
I'm
feeling this fear in my chest,
I'm feeling this fear in my chest,
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
Yeah, so we spend this time coupling a lower vibrational energy and coupling it with a higher one. And we're going to say this 3 times on the side of the hand. So again, even though I'm feeling all this fear in my chest,
I'm feeling all this fear in my chest,
it's a tightness in my chest,
it's a tightness in my chest,
and I love and accept myself anyway.
and I love and accept myself anyway.
And with kids, I don't say that. I say, I'm okay, or I'm an awesome kid, or whatever. They're not all about the love and acceptance. One more time. Even though I'm feeling all this tightness in my chest,
I'm feeling all this tightness in my chest.
I know it's fear,
I know it's fear,
but I don't know why it's there.
but I don't know why it's there.
And I love and accept myself anyway.
And I love and accept myself anyway.
Brilliant. Okay, so now we're going to go to the eyebrow. I'm going to take off my glasses. So where the eyebrow starts, right where the hair is, you can do one side, both sides, whatever you feel comfortable with. All this fear.
All this fear.
Side of the eye, just go to the bone on the side. This fear in my chest.
This fear in my chest.
Under the eye. I know I want to practice.
I know I want to practice.
Yeah, under your nose. But there's all these shoulds.
But there's all these shoulds.
Chin. I should be practicing.
I should be practicing.
And now this one, feel your collarbones and then just go down a touch.
Okay.
All this fear in my chest.
All this fear in my chest.
Under the arm. All this judgment. I should be.
All this judgment. I should be.
On top of the head. And I know once I get there, I'll enjoy it.
And I know once I get there, I'll enjoy it.
Now back to the eyebrow. But I'm avoiding it.
But I'm avoiding it.
The side of the eye. And I know there's fear.
And I know there's fear.
This and under the eye. This fear in my chest.
This fear in my chest.
Under the nose. This tight fear in my chest.
This tight fear in my chest.
On the chin. All this fear in my chest.
All this fear in my chest.
Collarbone. I want to practice.
I want to practice.
But I feel like I should practice.
But I feel like I should practice.
This triggers the fear in my chest.
This triggers the fear in my chest.
Okay, and just take 2 breaths there. And then we check in. You had that guk of a level 6 out of 10. Well, how's your chest feeling now? Is it still 6 out of 10? Did it go up? Because sometimes it goes up. Did it go down? Did it stay about the same level?
I feel like it was kind of wavering.
Yeah.
When I heard the words that I associate with negative things, like
Yeah.
fear and should,
Yeah.
I found that in those moments there was a tightness, and then when we said things like I want to practice, there was like a releasing of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make perfect sense.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why I asked, did it go up, did it go down? And where is it at now?
Where is it?
Where is it at now, the tightness in your chest? What's it feel like now?
It feels like it's like melting, like it's lower, like it's still there, but
Yeah.
it's sort of like
Yeah. So there was a
out.
change.
It was a change.
It's changed. It's not maybe quite so tight. It's now looser and
Mhm.
lowered.
Yeah.
Does that make
That
sense?
makes sense, yeah.
Okay. And is it still at a 6, or is it a loose 6, or did it go down a number?
Probably like a 4.
Okay, so that's brilliant. Like in terms of the vibrational scale, we think of the numbers almost in terms of factors of 10. So to take it down to 2 points like that is like 2 factors of 10. So that's brilliant. You've had huge success. And 5 is sort of our hump place. When you're above 5, you can't make informed decisions. When you get below 5, now you're into the realm of making informed decisions. And you're also able to, and when we get off, we're going to go into the, well, why? Where is it coming from? Is there anything else I can release around it to keep it lower? And then we'll talk about what's your regime to actually get yourself playing a little bit every day.
Okay. So this is almost like a fill in the blank pattern that people would follow in terms of what's the emotion I'm feeling, where's in my body, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Cool.
However, for chronic people as well, even just tapping every morning without any words is going to raise the vibration of the person, which is going to raise your immune system. It's going to have all kinds of effects. You don't need the words. Okay. But people worry about the words. So the words can be very plug and play. Just like I said, even though I'm experiencing this lack of love and accept myself.
So could I just focus on the pleasure I feel when I play and tap?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
So the beautiful thing about this method is that it will release the negative things, but you tap in the positive things, and then you don't worry about the side of the hand.
Yeah, because I found that I had a natural resistance to the number of times that I verbally said the word fear.
Yeah,
because and that's my sort of philosophy and take on life. This is where we focus on it expands, and I felt like we were focusing on the fear, and so I wanted to really focus on the joy of playing.
And there is that piece where in the New Thought movement we know that what we focus on expands, but here's the thing, is that if you don't address that fear, it's still there and it's still affecting your life.
So it would be more beneficial to sort of start by acknowledging what's there and then move on to the...
We always start by acknowledging what's there. And I've had resistance from people in the New Thought movement saying, yeah, but I can't focus on the fear. And I do a little bit of retraining. It's like, the fear is there anyway. You told me it's there in your body. So by focusing on it and tapping on it, we're clearing the fear. Then we go to the positive. And we tap that in.
I like that.
Because you can just say, I'm okay, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm
right.
Okay. But if you ignore that little voice that says, no, you're not, it's like a glass ceiling. You're only going to be making as much money until you hit that limiting belief. So you can ignore it.
Right. No, but we really shouldn't. And that's actually it's something that I'm going to be addressing really directly on a future video where I'm going to be reviewing a book called When the Body Says No, The Hidden Cost of Stress by AAMET. And he really talks a lot, actually very specifically about MS and other conditions within that book, and about how repression of our emotions, and specifically repression of anger and other negative emotions, is actually a really strong causative factor in autoimmune conditions like multiple sclerosis. So very interesting that I had this automatic tendency to be like, no, I'm not acknowledging the negative.
And there's medical doctors who are in on this too. So Dr. Lisa Rankin and Dr. Christiana Northrop. They say our issues are in our tissues.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, I haven't heard that before. I like that.
Our issues are in our tissues. We're holding them in. So we can get benefit from just going to the positive. However, if we can release the issues from our tissues, the positive is just that much more effective.
I'm really glad that I was honest about what I was thinking. Because at first I was like, well, I shouldn't bring up the fear thing because that doesn't fit with what Kerry's teaching. But I'm like, no, just acknowledge that I want to avoid it, but then that's part of my learning process now, is recognizing that I have this avoidance of acknowledging the negative emotions that are there as part of my path to healing. So wow, that was a big aha moment for me. High five. All right. So I know we wanted to talk a little bit also about pain, like physical pain.
Yes.
So can this be used for physical pain as well?
Absolutely. Okay. So we talked about the Western, where it's calming the amygdala. In the Eastern philosophy, when we have a negative experience, it actually gets linked to a physical response, whether that's a negative emotion or a pain in the body, and then it gets put into the body and it stays there. So as we clear the meridians, focusing on that negative experience, we are decoupling the experience from the pain, and often the pain will dissipate. So I have an example. I was working with a client who was very nervous, teacher, performance appraisal. And she was so anxious, she couldn't sleep. It was coming up. This is an experienced, seasoned teacher who's been doing this position for over 10 years. They are a master teacher, but they were completely frozen in fear about this performance appraisal. So I said, sit down, we're doing this. And so I said, what is it? It's anxiety. Where are you feeling it in the body? Turns out her neck was frozen. She couldn't turn it more than this much without feeling intense pain. We never focused on the pain. We just focused on the anxiety. We reduced that down. We found it was echoing off a previous principal situation. So it wasn't even about the current situation. We reduced the anxiety around that. And within half an hour, she's like, oh my gosh, I can move my neck. The pain is gone. So will it have effect on pain? Huge body of anecdotal experiences. Yes, it will.
Right. Yeah, and I was mentioning to Kerry before we started this video that it makes total sense to me because one of the things that I experience occasionally, and it's always in a direct response to stress, is really strong neuropathy or neuropathic pain, which those of you with MS are probably like, oh, I feel you, right? There aren't really words to describe it. I know my dad had MS as well, and I think it used to drive my mom and sister nuts when we'd be like, do you ever get that thing? And the thing, it kind of feels like a, yeah, totally, oh my God! And they'd be like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because unless you have it, you don't know how to describe it. But needless to say, it is painful, uncomfortable, unpleasant.
Yeah.
And when I get it, I'm holding my arm because it usually happens in this area for me, or sometimes like in the top of my shin.
Yeah.
And what I found over time was that the more I focused on it, the more I would become afraid of the pain and worried about, oh, does this mean I'm going to have an exacerbation, or does it mean it's going to worsen, and am I going to go paralyzed? Because that's happened before, right? And the more fear I got about the pain, the worse the pain got. But when I started to work on the emotion that I was feeling and to acknowledge but then dissipate the emotion, the pain itself would just kind of melt away because it was actually my emotions that were enhancing it or triggering it to worsen.
Yeah.
So I really like that this to me is almost like a little bit of a fast track to get there faster.
Yes.
You know, I recognize that I can use my thought processes to affect my emotions, which will in turn heal the pain, but now I have a specific tool I can use to maybe speed up that process and focus.
Absolutely.
Getting away from that pain.
And it's addressing all of it. It's like tapping down the frustration, tapping down the fear, tapping down, I'm so tired of dealing with this, like just tapping all the pieces around it. Mm-hmm. Clients can experience, I think, you know, it's a sliding scale, but can experience relief from physical pain.
For sure.
And again, I've done stupid things. Like when I bite the inside of my cheek, I did that one day, and I was just so angry at myself. Because I hadn't finished my lunch, and I wanted to eat. And so I literally just focused on the anger and how chewing is such a simple system. How can I screw up this simple system? So all the anger and frustration with my body for not being able to function and perform a simple system. I did this for about 10-15 minutes. And I would alternate it with, I'm allowing my cheek to calm. I'm allowing the blood vessels to calm. So I did introduce what I wanted. So we don't stay in the negative. That's the only thing. We do the negative, then we start to alternate with the negative and the positive, and then when we feel the body shift, we go into the positive. So I don't leave you in the negative.
Oh, thanks.
I take you to the positive.
And it's funny you use the cheek example because one of the things that's a common MS symptom is difficulty swallowing. And this is something that that I get just on occasion. And it's about, you know, your brain's ability to coordinate the timing of, you know, it's quite an intricate process actually that is automatic, and we don't really have to think about it. So how many of you out there have ever had the experience where, you know, you're at a nice restaurant enjoying a nice meal, and then all of a sudden, you know, your nose is running and you're choking and you're, you know, coughing, and like, have you never eaten food before? Like, or, you know, you just take a sip of water. And I know that happens to normal people once in a blue moon. It tends to happen to me like quite more often than that. And yeah, I have those same thoughts. Like, seriously, come on, it's swallowing. Yeah. We can do that.
We can do this. Let's get together. And that's something that could over time become a fear. So tapping it down before you go out. Even though I'm afraid, I'm not going to be able to swallow, and I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'm going to feel like. So you tap down the fear, the anxiety, and then you tap in, maybe it's going to be okay. Maybe I don't have to have a problem. Maybe if I do have a problem, it will resolve easily, swiftly, and I can let it go.
I like that idea of prevention. I feel like I'm definitely going to use that for bladder and bowel issues. I know a lot of people with MS really have a fear of going out, or for me, oh my goodness, about 8 years ago, it was debilitating. I could not take public transit because Toronto, TTC sucks. TTC is the name of our subway, our 2 subway lines in our transit system. The entire city of Toronto, 4 million people, our subway line has 3 bathrooms. 3! one at the furthest east, one at the furthest west, and one in the middle. Hello, this is not accessible to a huge percentage of the population. So yeah, the fear I would have before I had a car. Like for me, having a car was not about even mobility. It was about being able to stop whenever I needed to and go pee, right? So yeah, as a prevention, as a calming of a fear you might have about a situation, but whatever is manifesting itself physically with your MS, you know, helping to alleviate the fear that something might happen that would interfere with your quality of life while you're out and about, right? Because the worst thing we can do as a person with MS is to isolate.
Sure.
For anybody, really, but to self-isolate and to have that fear of interacting with the world is going to have a really destructive effect on you. Yeah. Awesome. So, all right, is there anything else you'd like to share before we...
Oh, I think that's pretty much it. Except that the end of that story about my cheek is that the pain was gone in about 10 minutes. I went back and had this huge cookie that I'd been waiting to eat. And the next morning, I didn't have that flap of skin. It was actually all healed up. Like, it actually healed itself. And I'm like, yay, body.
The body's pretty awesome.
It is very awesome.
When we get out our own way and just let it do its thing, bodies are awesome. Yay, bodies.
Yay, bodies. So actually the final thing is go online and start Googling EFT.
That was my next question. How do people get more information?
Yes, well, please contact me. I'm always happy to have a one-on-one consultation, even if I just teach it to you and then say, go Google, and come back to me when you got something big. So
how can people contact you?
My email address is just my name squished together, so I know my name is correctly spelled on this post. So it's Kerry Garnier altogether at gmail.com. I will link it to this post once we're done. Contact me. But the other thing to do is get out there, either Google it or go to YouTube, because there are so many videos on any topic. So there's fear, there's anxiety, there's anger, there's cravings, like this is great for reducing cravings. There's any topic out there. So I usually go YouTube, EFT, tapping, and then my issue. And the beautiful thing is that this process is so flexible that you can actually tap along to somebody else's script. You will get the benefits. Right. So the words don't even have to be perfectly your own. Okay. You can either change them in the moment or just say what they're saying. It's going to help you with your issue.
Awesome. So I think what I'll do in the next little while is I'll do some research of my own, looking at some issues that are specific to the MS community. And if I find any really good videos or resources, I'll post them in the comments below this video. We got a comment from somebody online. Francesca says, "Yay, Kerry!"
Thank you,
absolutely, yay, Kerry. So yeah, I'll post anything that I come across that I think would be beneficial to you. I think that's about it. That's about it. Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for coming over and sharing this information with us. I am going to do a follow-up with Kerry at the end of the month, because I'm going to be working with her over the course of this month on my particular issues, and I'll let you know what the outcome of that, what the progress is. So for now, thank you very much, Kerry.
You're welcome.
And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see some more tips and resources from me, again, my name is Rebecca Naylor, and I'm a health coach with Chronically Well Club. So you can find more of these videos by following my page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/Chronically Well Club. And if you want to make sure you don't miss a video, you can subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I am only four subscribers away from having the minimum number required to get my own website address. So hey, Francesca, you and 3 friends,
do it.
Please go to YouTube, search for Chronically Well Club, and hit subscribe. And then I can get rid of that weird website address. It's a whole bunch of letters and numbers, and change it to youtube.com/Chronically Well Club. And that will make it much easier at the end of all these videos to direct you there. So yay, thank you. You can also check out my work as a health coach by going to my main website, www.chronicallywell.club. I do work with individuals who have multiple sclerosis in Toronto area. I do home health audits where I go into your home and help you identify toxins and other things that may be negatively affecting you and your families. And I work one-on-one with individuals who are really ready to make the commitment to becoming their best version of themselves, and be prepared. Emotions is a big part of it. It's not all about diet. Absolutely. So, any final last words?
No, just go out there, start tapping. It'll change your life.
All right, go out there, start tapping. It'll change your life. So, Chronically Well Club, create an amazing day and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.